Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on NCBN. I'm Steve David, I'm your host. I have a treat for you today, viewers. And today I ran into a good friend and who you guys know very well. And you'll be excited to the topic we have today. We're going to talk about youth football, international youth football actually. And let me introduce my guest, and then we take it from there. Welcome to Sir Dion.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on.
As usual, viewers, Dion Lapacard, the former TTFA technical director. And what have you been doing, bud?
Well, to be honest, I haven't been working for the TTFA since March, Steve, and I have been basically using the time to go around the country, look at youth football. I've been looking at some of the school games, looking at just some of the youth tournaments, and really getting a grasp of what happens. Because obviously with the COVID, when I came back, the COVID came in. I didn't get a chance to really see live what's happening on the ground. So I'm really enjoying that and really getting a grasp of what's happening in the country from a youth perspective.
Things happen so quickly and so strangely. You were once technical director, and then it looked like there was a blur, and then we didn't have a technical director, and then we got one. And what really went down? What really happened?
Well, I think Anton Cornell came back on the scene, and we spoke and and they wanted me to get back involved. That still hasn't happened because I kind of said to them, I don't mind helping, but obviously I'm not going to work without a contract, and so that hasn't really materialized. I have been having lots of different offers with different clubs around the world to go out there and be a technical director again. But I'm still deciding. I have some options here, but I'm still trusting God and praying and seeing where God really wants me.
And this didn't happen overnight, or it happened like overnight, or there was a process where you left, or they got you out?
I wouldn't say they got me out. My contract came to an end, and it was a question of renegotiating and see, Anton. I think it was on the tables for Anton to come back in.
Okay.
So, but it was a question of us negotiating and seeing how I could still help, because my heart is still very much in helping Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't necessarily need a title to do that. I don't need a title. It's just a question of where can I best fit in? How can I help? And that's what the discussion has been about.
It seems as though, and I don't want to stay on this topic too long, but it seems as though we bring in technical directors, we get out and do you feel like you were treated fairly? Or, I'm asking the questions I'm sure the viewers would want to know. Do you feel like you've been treated fairly, or this is something that you didn't swallow? It's not a good pill for you to swallow?
Well, in football, sometimes they say you live out of a suitcase, but technical director is really a long-term position.
Right.
So I would have wanted a little more time in the job. 2 years is really not enough, and especially with the COVID, to implement some of the things the ideas that I had, and also the things that FIFA. I know for a fact from all my many meetings with FIFA that they would have loved to implement in the country. But it's life, it's not a problem at all. There's no hard feelings at all. I still very much, would love to help the country. If something were to work out, it's something I'll seriously consider.
You taking this really good, because I would have been real mad, because you were happily living abroad, doing your thing, and you were dragged out just like weeks, and you came home, tried to help. And then with the treatment, it's unfair to me, and like we know these things is gonna happen, but they happen.
Yeah, but everything happens for a reason, I always say things like that don't happen unless God allows it. So it means that God allowed it. It means that He has something big in store for me, and I still feel very content in a sense that I'm still able to help many coaches in the country. I get many calls in Trinidad from coaches and Tobago that want help from the Caribbean, from different parts of the world. So I still feel like I'm giving some expertise to many people. So it's not necessarily I have to be in a position to do it. You know, as I said before, yes, I would have loved to help much more, but I'm somebody, I'm willing to help. So I don't need a title to help. I have, 36 years experience coaching. I'm still learning, I would say that. I'm still learning, but I have lots to give back and to share with coaches.
And you came into in a tough time in COVID period. There wasn't much going on. It was like there's nothing much to work with. What did you meet when you came?
Well, the challenging thing about working with the TTFA is that, there's so many programs, so many former technical directors, so many different programs that have been written, but we really don't have something established. What I think happens with the TTFA is somebody comes in, they come in with their idea. When they go with their ideas. So we need to have different things that are set policies, set procedures, set ways of doing things. I think too often there's too many changes. Way too many changes, and we're always starting over again. It's like when we're picking national youth teams, we're always starting over again. Right. And that shouldn't be. We always have to do screening within the year of a CONCACAF qualifiers. Something is not quite right. We should have a handle on knowing who are best players, knowing that players develop at different stages, right? Players develop at different stages, but we should have a better handle on the youth players in the country, in my opinion.
So did you left some kind of mold or structure or something that somebody can pick up and run with?
Well, what was interesting during the COVID period, there was still lots of work in the office, and in the office, and obviously we worked at home a bit. FIFA did what is called an echo analysis report on Trinidad and Tobago's football, which was really, really interesting. It went over quite a few months, and that report is finished, and it's the TTF is now in the possession of the TTFA as to what happens. How do we select players? Right? So talent identification is one. How do we run our tournaments? And so really, really forensic. And to be quite honest, Trinidad and Tobago did not really do that well in the report based on FIFA's finding. And they've made a bunch of recommendations. And I know for a fact Anton is aware of it, and that he's going to obviously try to put some things in place. It's not a one solution thing. It takes a lot of people expertise to get our football back where it's supposed to be. So a lot of things that have to be considered.
Right. All right. So let me get to the topic really, what you're into now, and tell the viewers a little bit about this youth football international program work that you're into now, and you had going or whatever. Give us some idea of what your plans are.
Recently, what I've been doing also, I get a lot of calls from different academies, different players from around the world to do game analysis. And I came up with an idea that what if we got the young players from Trinidad and Tobago and different parts of the world discussing football. So I did a pilot project with 10 countries, Canada, Mexico, USA, Holland, Venezuela, Costa Rica. All these kids can speak English, and those are just some of the countries. And what we did, I got Atletico Madrid to one of their instructors, their academy, their coaches, to come on, along with some coaches from England and USA, to discuss the game. So we put some video on, and we asked the kids to discuss the game. And it was really, 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 really good. Really, really nice to hear young people discussing the game. So we put the footage on, and the kids discussed the game. One of the things we did also, we showed the kids a footage of the kids of people doing tricks with the ball. And that particular segment went into, is that type of technique, high level technique, important for the game? And here the international coaches, along with myself, just telling the kids, yes, you need to have a great touch on the ball, great ball control, things that you can master the ball, but you don't showboat, right? Because you're not going to pick up the ball in the middle of the field and start doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. So it was really, really interesting discussion, and the kids gave their views, right? So we kept it very, very interactive, and the kids were discussing the game, and really, really, actually the program went so well that I've sent the program to a few different people around the world, and they love the concept, and they're begging for another one, and I'm sure the next one I'll do will probably have 40 or 50 countries, because the program was well received.
So what do the kids think? Because if I am 14 years old?
Yes.
And of course I am thinking with my brain, that young brain is like, I want to be able to do magic. I want to put the ball in my head and run with it. I want to do this and that. What did they think?
Well, what was interesting, the kids were very, very intelligent, and some felt that you need to have that type of skill. Some said no, right? So, but some, they all realized that it's great to have that sort of touch on the ball, but it's not good to show off. There are times when you use certain skills to get out of certain situations, and people love that, to do a trick and a flick and so, but am I going to use it at the right time? Am I doing it to rub salt into the wound, so to speak? So there's a time and a place to do these different tricks. We look at Ronaldinho and all the top players in the world, the Neymars and all the tricks. Those are tools very, very good to have because it can get you out of very tight situations. But it's doing it at the right time. It's not a question of showing off. I think it's a big difference.
So I guess that's what was you guys' communication to them?
Yes, most certainly, most definitely.
But I said to my kid, and I said to other kids, football is entertainment. So if all you do is to receive the ball, you pass, and you don't do anything else, you don't attract the eyes of the scout or the fans for that matter. You have to do things that make them want to go, wow. And I still feel that way. So, how do you feel, or how do they feel about mixing it?
I think they feel very good. The World Cup is coming up in a little while, and the amount of people I've heard talk about Brazil.
Right.
And what do we love about the Brazilians? We love the flair in the game.
Right.
And as you said, it's very attractive. Now, there are some people that don't like it. They don't think it's important. But I think it's important because for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, when we go and play against the Mexicans, the South Americans, they're going to do these different things on the field. Of course, if you look at the thirds of the field, you might decide, okay, I'm not going to take too much risk in the defensive third of the field. The middle third, I'm going to be more, it's more transition, more creative. But in the attacking third of the field, why not? And that's the things that also make highlights. Not just scoring the goals, but you got to have the flair because that's what we're going to play against. So coaches who are telling players, don't do the tricks. I think the tricks can be a form of disguise. And you need that disguise, deception in the game, in a good way.
Yeah, well, and every team is made up of different players. So your team, that's why I call it a team. It has the ones who are the playmakers, and the ones who can't even do that, the ones who just got to defend, the ball winners, so I think it depends on your role with the team.
Yeah, most certainly. And of course, I like to say a team is made up of piano movers and piano players.
Okay.
You need the piano movers to put the piano on the stage, and you need the piano players to play the tunes.
Right.
So when you have if I'm going to go far back as Russell Atapi and these guys, you need these guys.
Of course.
These are the guys that can unlock very, very tight defenses, right? Very organized defenses. These are the guys that using improvisation. These are the guys that you need. You need to have these players. You don't need too many of them because if you have too many guys, you don't want the goalkeeper getting the ball and bouncing the ball in his head and doing all that stuff, and you don't want to get that stuff. All right? So it all depends on the philosophy and, of course, what's allowed. And every coach is a little bit different. Some coaches just like the bigger players because they're big and strong. Some coaches have a mixture of both. So I think there should be a great blend in the team and somebody that, we could think of many, many top players in the world that can do these little things that not only makes us go wow, but it actually helps their team.
Right. Did you guys break it down, do an analysis to say, well, at least maybe 10% of us should, 10% of my team should be able to do this, or you just left it like that?
We sort of left it, we sort of left it as it is. But one of the analysis that the kids did as well was also looking at the team in possession, the team out of possession, and looking at transition. Because transition are moments. Mm-hmm. These are the main moments in the game. And what does the team do as soon as they lose the ball? What does the team do as soon as they win the ball? And the kids really get a chance to look into the game. Because there are things that you need to do. You need to do in terms of trying to set yourself up to win the ball or to keep possession of the ball or to maybe counter-attack. So these are things that you have to do. So what are the players doing off the ball? Too often here we find ourselves focusing on the play on the ball. The game is also played off the ball.
Right.
So it's basically intelligent movement. Where do I go? Timing of movement. You know, that's very important.
Okay. Well, we need to take a break, but when we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about the development, the technical development of the kit, and then is it a good time to let them know when they should and when they should not use it, and kind of break it down that way for me.
Sure, not a problem. Sure.
Okay, viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Current affairs.
That's
it. That's it.
Welcome, one and all. I am Gigi Love, alongside my sidekick, Mr. Aruka.
Your partner in crime, Juliet.
And we are going to be live on NCBM on a social media platform near you. IG, Facebook, YouTube. We are going to be
Sensational,
tantalizing,
thought-provoking,
dramatic,
educational,
real,
sometimes spiritual,
suspense,
political analysis.
drama.
Take no prisoners, Juliet. Don't forget that part. Coming soon.
20,000 can rise against we like zombies on Juve morning. They can't stop the garden.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. We were just, for the ones who just tuned in, you were looking at NCBN. I'm Steve David, I'm your host. I'm talking to Dion Lafacard, and this is Field of Dreams. Dion, so before the break, we were talking about, there is time and place for everything. And in team concept, they always say there's no I in team, but there's me in team. There's the M and the E in team. So why we talk about team, we have to have players who do different things and form a team. And when we talk about team, I always look at my 73 World Cup squad that went to Haiti. We did not have the best individual players, but we went with a team, and everybody had know the role, and we did what we were supposed to do, and was successful at doing it. So I wanted to elaborate a little bit on that as to the makeup of the team, and also, does kids really have to just receive the ball and pass it, or do they have to, express themselves?
Well, first to begin, kids should be allowed to, I'll answer your second part of it first. Kids should be allowed to express themselves, because they all want to have the ball, but you can't have the ball all the time, because the longer you keep the ball, is the more defenders you're going to attract. So you have to, at some point in time, you have to pass the ball. But if every time you get the ball and you just pass it, which sometimes that might be the right thing to do, but there are times when you need to keep the ball. If you keep the ball and you're good at dribbling, you might start attacking not only one defender, 2, 3 defenders. It means that somebody's free. And if you're really good at it, you can probably get all the way to maybe get a shot off on goal. So you need to be able to have the ability to know, can I keep the ball at this time? Do I release the ball at this time? With regards to team, if you put it in terms of mnemonics, together everyone achieve more. Right, so you need to have a team concept. So it's a game of 11 individuals, right? If that's at the 11v11, and in order for you to play, you need your teammates. All right. If I need room to dribble, I need my teammates to move off the ball. Right. If I dribble towards one of my teammates, they need to move. If they have a defender, does that defender or defenders go with them, or do I attract them? So we need each other. When the ball is lost, I'm going to put pressure on the ball. Whoever's closest to the ball puts pressure on the ball. But I need people just in case what? The pressure doesn't work. So you need cover, balance. So in defense, you need a goalkeeper, right? Because you have what? First line of defense, second line of defense, third line of defense, last line of defense. We have to work together, right? If we're playing, some strategies, we play like what we call a low block, middle block, the high block. Are we going to play on the counter attack? We need to have a strategy. How are we going to play against the other team? What are our strengths? What are their strengths? What are our weaknesses that we try to minimize? What are their weaknesses that we try to exploit? I think it's very, very important. If you don't have team, it can't be an individual. It can't be an individual. It might be late in the game. We need to get the ball back, but one player can't go and get the ball back against three guys who can pass the ball around pretty well. They need to work as a team.
Right, and I always, try to figure out at what age, and I don't think there is an age where you can say this is when a kid needs to really buckle down and start looking at the game in a different way. Because most of the times growing up for me is like we get the ball, we go in the yard or the road or wherever, and we express ourselves among each other. And then maybe at 12, we start to get structured coaching and that kind of stuff, which most of the times you don't like when you have to stand around looking at drills and stuff, but it's part of the process. So how do you feel about when do you make that transition from fun, playing, to serious work?
Well, the nice thing about football, it's for everybody. All right? So we have to decide, a kid has to decide, and with their coaches, what does their potential say? Right? And we can't say too early that a kid that doesn't have any potential, they're not going to reach anywhere, because we have known many players, Steve, who have started off playing the game for fun and then eventually went on to do greater things. And it just started by fun. Some kids a little bit younger, they want to be the best in the world, and so, but you can't be any of that if you don't have the tools for the game. And when I use the phrase tools for the game, the techniques for the game, the ability to pass, turn, dribble, shoot, all the things that you do with the ball. If you can't master the ball, you can't play the game. There's no technique in the world or strategy in the world that caters for poor technique.
Right.
There's none. You have to be able to master the ball, and then what? When I start mastering the ball, I start what? Dominating my opponent. I start learning to play the game, how to play the game, how do I compete, and then how do I win? Which is a big problem here. People are trying to teach kids how to win the game, and they can't play the game. They can't compete, and they can't play the game. They don't know how to master the ball. So I think we need to get things in priority. Once we get that correctly, and then the tactical side of the game. But tactics are not just 11 against 11 or strategy. It's 1v1. It's small-sided games. What are we doing to get up to win against the opponent? Very, very important.
So your pilot program really was about them looking at game and analyzing it, or did they go into the field and do things? Was it like more indoor kind of sessions?
Well, this was a Zoom session because these kids are from 10 different countries.
Zoom, yeah.
So it was a Zoom session, and the kids it was just more for them to look at the game and look into the game and start seeing the game from the perspective of what happens off the ball. What are teams doing? How my team is in possession of the ball. What am I doing to keep the ball? Is there mobility? Is there movement? Is there improvisation? Is there depth? Is there width? What's the structure of the team? Where do we get width from? Why do we get width? Right? What's happening around the ball? What's the support? Who's moving? These things are very, very important. As I said before, a lot of the kids want to play the game only when they have the ball. you're still a very important player when you don't have the ball.
Well, of course, I mean, the most important players is the ones who running off the ball, because you get in the anytime somebody's on the ball, they're gonna get crowded, and people come in, and especially when kids play. Person has the ball, 11 people going after them, and there's 10 people available to pass the ball to. So and so that is so important in that age group. And then as we get older, we know to keep width, we know to keep space, we know to do all the different things. So your pilot program, and let me get back on that. That was very successful, and you intend to do what with that? You intend to take it further?
Yeah, I'm going to take it further, because if you could have, kids from 40, 50 different countries discussing the game, you're bringing people together.
Right.
Right, because the kids afterwards, they want to exchange emails, the coaches want to, because some of the coaches were on also, they want to interact with each other, because the game is played in different places. One of the boys from Holland, he actually lived in South Africa, and he was talking about the difference of playing in Holland and playing in South Africa. He felt in Holland there was a little more freedom to play. In South Africa, it was very structured. He still enjoyed it, but just different ways of playing the game. If we leave, kids leave here and go and play in America, it's very, very different. They go and play in Europe, it's very different. So it's really good to know that we have most of our young people aspire, right, but male and female, to go on to the higher levels in the game. But they must know, if I'm going to play, I want to go to the highest level, these are the things to expect. What is expected of me? If I don't have the right attitude, the right discipline, I could be all talented, as you know, Steve, all talented, but I won't reach. So hearing other kids talking about the discipline, how, the sacrifices they make. We had some kids talking about they get up early in the morning and practice before they go to school. I'm not sure how many players in trying to be able to do that. Right? These kids say they really want to reach far, so they spend extra time with the ball. So it's just hearing different philosophies, different methodologies.
How do you think that can help us here? Of course, I mean, it can help us, but how do you see it, like that helping us here?
Well, and to your point, we had some kids from Trinidad and Tobago who were on, and I remember speaking with a few of their parents afterwards, and they said they really enjoyed it because it really opened their eyes up to the world of football. If you're playing in one environment only, you only get used to what happens in that one environment. But most of our kids here, they want to go to the top academies in the world. What happens there? What's the philosophies? Because it was quite interesting hearing some of the coach of Atletico Madrid who was on, talking about his way of how he sees the game, the coaches from America, how they see the game. There was a little back and forth, the coach from England, and there was a little banter among the coaches in terms of, we think the American guys were more like, oh, we want to have the kids get accustomed to winning from a young age. The English guys were saying, yeah, it's important, but it's not that important. Again, different philosophies.
Yeah, of course, there's different forms of learning as well. And there's kids who early bloomers, and there's ones who are late. So it's the coach's eye to see that and know the potential. But sometimes you see this is what I see a lot of. Kids are good at a young age, they go to college, and after college, you never hear about them again. And kids who I'm hearing about advances and moving forward is the ones who I didn't hear about in college. But notice that?
Yeah, most certainly. And there's no crystal ball that says this player is going to make it at this time. No one really knows. You got to keep putting the work. I like to say, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Some players are prepared, but they never get the opportunity. Some players get the opportunity, but they're not prepared. So I think it's really, really important for our young players to keep, knocking on the door, keep trying their best. There are a lot of kids here who want to get scholarships. And obviously that's huge. You can save your parents thousands of US dollars if you just meet the right criteria, which is what? Which is, what do you bring to the table academically to the university? What do you bring as a player, and then as your personality? Right? It's a big thing now about getting scholarships and all that stuff. Right. And we have had many, many players who have gone on, male and female, to get scholarships, have done well. Some have continued in the game. Some have gone on to be experts in different fields.
And also, I look back on life, and the kids or the people that I've met, there's people that I grew up with and playing against in the entire Trinidad that you see them through the ranks. Or in track and field the same. You meet them everywhere you go. You're seeing the same kids, and then we started as 7 to 8 year old, and then we end up 30-something year old, and we still competing. So that means there is a trend as well for the ones who you identify early, and then there's also a way for the ones who are late bloomers.
Most certainly, definitely. There's a place in the game for everybody. There's definitely a place in the game for everybody. You just have to, like anything else, what you put in is what you're going to get out.
All right. So with your program now, what's the plan to grow this or move it forward?
We'll have to see where it goes, and I'm going to do another one in the next couple of weeks. I'll do another and then see what happens with that. I love bringing coaches together. I actually enjoy that. What was interesting after the Zoom session with the kids, the coaches stayed on, and beautiful conversation discussing the game of football. The coach from Spain was talking about how they develop players. The guys from America talk about what they do. So it's really it's really global if you think about it. Football brings the world together, and I love doing that, bringing coaches together and facilitating, and I really enjoy that.
So it's really about bringing the coaches and let the coaches bring the players, not you going and try to get the players to tune in to watch this.
No, I actually spoke to the coaches, and the coaches are one who got their players on. Of course, the kids have to be able to speak bilingual and be able to speak English as well, because we had some kids who from other countries. So, but it's really good fun. Really good fun.
And I can see that because if I'm a 12, 13, 14-year-old, I'm going to sit down and watch, unless my coach says, all right, we have a group session, let's watch this and let's discuss it.
And most of the young players said that they've never done anything like that before, to really look into a game and be able to interact with kids from different parts of the world. You will interact with different parts of the world if they come here or we go there, but Zoom has given us the opportunity for people to interact. So to me, it's a positive. The kids can interact with each other, and now with the FIFA game, right? The FIFA, the video game, there are kids that play against kids from different parts of the world, and that's fun for them. They can be different players and have different teams from different parts of the world. So the kids love interacting with and that's where we are now with technology.
That's right. So they can use the technology, do something with it. And I never thought about that, Dion. You have a great mind, because I never thought about that part of development for kids playing football.
And actually, quite a few of the academies I spoke to in England, and so they said to me the same thing. That's really innovative. And I'm not taking any credit. I give God all the glory. But it's really innovative that you can bring kids together in this way. Because we will all love to go and play tournaments around the world, and so financially, that's an issue. But just to get the kids to come together and discuss the game, I think it's really nice, and discuss about coaches, discuss about playing styles, and some of the kids you could swear that the kids were coaches, because the things that they were saying really in depth, and that was, again, the kids from Trinidad I found a little bit quiet, and of course, the kids the international kids were a little bit, more well spoken. So now it's how do I converse? Because sometimes we have kids from Trinidad and Tobago, but after the CONCACAF games, they interview them, and we wonder where the English teachers at that point in time. Have we done some grammar lessons? So this is important. Knowing how to carry about yourself, knowing how to conduct an interview, I think is really important for kids. So you can start from now.
Yeah, I think we are a pretty shy nation in being verbal and vocal, compared to some Europeans or whatever. But because I do think so, and I think I was the same. But again, you're right. We have to learn to get in front of the mic and say our part, and I guess it's because of our accent here in the country. It is what it is, I guess.
Well, you don't learn you will never lose your accent, but your identity, you know, if for example, when you travel and you hear a Jamaican speaking, oh, that's a Jamaican.
Yeah.
Right, because of the distinct accent. So I guess Trinidad and Tobago has a distinct accent, but you need to speak properly, right? You need to speak properly, and our, you know, a little word there for the TTFA, when our players go out, prepare them a little better, in my opinion, to conduct interviews, right? To conduct interviews. CONCACAF has as a rule that they will interview a player after the game. They interview the coaches as well. So you got to be able to carry about yourself. We've been seeing now with the secondary schools football, right? Some of the kids have been interviewed, some of the coaches have been interviewed. It's really, really important how you know, what you say, you bring a little bit of insight into the game, but how you articulate what you really want to say, I think it's really important. And it is part of the game. If you're captain of a team, one of the attributes that I would say, give the kid a little media training. Because some of the guys, you know, you don't want to go and say, well, I scored a goal and my team, no. Yeah. People look at you a little bit funny. Remember, if you want to be an ambassador for a top team in the world, you got to be able to speak. When you listen to Dwight, Dwight went to Aston Villa and they really developed that side of his game as well. Mm-hmm. And these international athletes, we have many in the country, they can really articulate themselves properly.
You know, I remember when we brought back Archie, Gali, and Celis Figueroa, the three professionals that was on our team. That's all we had with amateur players. And the cameras locally would come to the practice, and they would only want to talk to those three. And I actually used to be saying, what happened? Talk to those other guys. And I was like, come on, Archie, you the man. It's all about you. and so on and so on. But now, looking back in hindsight, I understand where he's coming from. You know, you got to get us locally involved so we can learn to talk in front of the mic.
Yeah, most certainly. I know Sean Fuentes and was our media officer, and I remember one time I was in Colorado and Trinidad and Tobago played, and one of our players was interviewed, and I called Sean after the game, and I said, Sean, you got to put these players through some media training, because it was clear that the kid was very nervous and didn't know how to speak and was very shy, and you got to be able to carry about yourself, because if you want to play for one of the top clubs in the world, you got to be an ambassador for that club. And you are going to be faced with the media. I've been to different clubs around the world, and the media, even for the youths, the media is there also.
Right.
And the kids have to be able to speak. That's just part and parcel of the deal.
Let's take a break. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Hi, join us for your movie classics on NCBN TT Television Network every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. with repeats on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. NCBN Television, the #1 online television network, bringing you the classics.
I come from a place where only happy people and pretty girl everywhere, yeah. I know life is rough, but we still a smile on we face, yeah. No matter how hard, man, we don't let tragedy face way. We could take strain, that's why when we festin', we just bed hard when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we festin', we just bed hard when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle, push up your hand, yeah. We see by this spot, push up your hand, yeah. God bless this land, yeah. So we go jam down, oh la la, so we go wind down, oh yeah yeah, so we go jam down. So we go wind down and in the air. If you're born right there in this land, where the vibes go and I say hand in the air. If you're born right here in this land, where the vibes go and I come from a place where even when it's tough, we just live it up, it's amazing. When the battle hard, we just better God, but we safe there. Yeah, I know that we safe, yeah. We gon' make it. Cause God is our tree name. When we festin', we just bed hard and we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we festin'.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. All right, Dion. I know as you were with us as your technical director at TTFA, and your 2 years went by and it was all COVID. And I know there's things that you would have liked to do that you never got done, and so on and so on. So, if you can reflect for me, can you tell me some things if you were in a position now that you, or not if you were in a position, doesn't have to be in a position now, if you, things that you would like to see get done or you would have liked to get done?
Well, one of the things that I started to do with my everybody in coaching seminars is that coaches have to come together.
Okay.
Coaches have to come together because I think one of the problems we have here is that we're a little bit too divided because people are fighting for the same player, so to speak. If we could bring coaches more together, that togetherness is definitely needed. I know what for a fact now what FIFA has done and Anton is doing is what FIFA calls the high performance program, right? Some people say elite, but it's not, they call it the high performance program. So we have kids now as young as 13, 14, 15 who are now training 2 or 3 years prior to a CONCACAF tournament, a FIFA CONCACAF tournament. There's also an under 15 tournament. So can we get our players now being more prepared for when they go to that actual under 17 tournament, trying to make an under 17 World Cup? FIFA's now started at under 15. Right, and there are different tournaments. Even the CFU has some tournaments on the cards. The problem I see, I've gone around watching the colleges league, and we have lots of talent. But when I look at the coaches, and this is no knock on the coaches, but what you see is that a lot of coaches are telling the players what to do almost every play. That's not, the players are not going to develop. If you're telling the player what to do all the time, the player's not thinking for themselves. And may I also add, which is the truth, even the tone in which you're telling some of the players, because the player tends to get nervous when a coach is yelling and screaming at them the entire time. I've seen some very, very good coaches letting the players play, give them little reminders, but I've also seen the other extreme of that, where coaches are yelling behind the players, and the question now comes up, do we put winning before development? That's very, very important. The younger the ages, the more it should be about development. Yes, I know there's school prestige and there's pride and the kids want to win and they want to do well for your school. But what's more important? Is winning now really that important as opposed to winning later on? And when I say winning later on, I don't necessarily mean lifting up a trophy. When you're signing a dotted line, you've gotten a full scholarship. Or I, as a coach, have helped this player to be a better player, a better person. What really is winning? And then we can have an argument among I know coaches are going to be, no, I want my team to win all the time. You can play a really good game, lose 2-1, and you've learned from the game, and you've developed. You know what to do better. You can win a game 10-0, and you say, well, we have won, but have I really won? Beating a team 10-0? You know, so we have to be very, very careful what is important for the kids. Looking at the colleges league, lots of talents, boys and girls. But what are we doing with the talents? Because as you know, Steve, we have seen many, many players over the years. They grab some of the headlines, colleges leagues, they've grabbed the headlines. It's now on internet, you're seeing it worldwide. And you ask for them, you're like, where's that player? So that player was was looking promising. Did that player fulfill their potential? I think that's really, really important.
And you're absolutely right about that. And as I'm sitting here listening to you, the dribbler came to mind. He was awesome. He was like the best college player ever. And then he just fell off the map. And I had him on an interview, and it is sad because he could have been one of our big, great internationals that he was never. And so, but what do you think now about the colleges league? Do you see an improvement? Do you think they're still the same? Do you think is improvement in support and not actual play? What do you think?
Well, the colleges league have done a very good job of attracting very big sponsors.
Right.
So they have to be doing something quite right. But having said that, I would like to see, to be honest, a little more emphasis put on the academic side of it. I've been hearing recently of players who are just turning up to play. They're registered with the school. They don't go to the classroom, but they're turning up to play football for the school. That speaks volumes. Something is not quite there. It's supposed to be a student athlete. Now, football is something I love. And I know when I didn't get to play football, if my mom had disciplined me and said, no, you couldn't go play football, like my world was over. So I understand what football means to the kids. But can we get them focusing also on their academics? So, which I did have a talk with Marie Gonzalez, the president of the Colleges League, and just to toy an idea with him about having a grade point average to play football for your school. And of course, it's a discussion that I want to continue having there, because we have seen many players. I've been in Trinidad and seen many coaches come looking for players to get a scholarship. The players will come out, and then the coach says, I like that player. And then they say, no, you can't have him. Why? Because he doesn't have any academics. I've seen that happen time and time and time again. I think it's really sad. So could we do something to really help these kids? Is it remedial work? Because yes, we're developing the player, but can we develop the person? Can we also develop the student? You know how many parents would be happy if the coach said to the player, you're doing well for me on the field, but I heard that you're not being disciplined in school, or you're not turning in your assignments on time. So what are we about? Are we developing the player? Are we developing the student athlete? We really have to ask ourselves, and not everybody is going to be all academic. Right? We understand that. But what are we doing to find that if, in the unlikely event that this child gets hurt, what can they fall back on? We don't like to hear when top footballers end up doing things, getting involved in crime and so. That's really, really sad. What are we doing to help those kids know there is life off the field as well as on the field?
And I hear that too, but I think I look at that like, I mean, that's people just wanted to talk, you know. But I hear the thing about kids not going to school and playing football. That's easy to control. I mean, that should be very easy. If you don't come to school, you don't play. So I want to believe that's just hearsay. I don't think the coaches is going to tolerate, and I hope not. But I've heard it too.
It's really sad, but it does happen. It really does happen. Yeah. But very minute, to say that, you know, in fairness to the schools, in minute cases. But we have to be careful, really, but that should not be happening.
And also about what you said about you have to keep a great point, maintain a good grade point to play, which they do in the U.S. I mean, that's easy to implement here as well. It's just a matter of implementation. And we just got to do that. And like you said, not every kid is, they say not every kid. I think it's just laziness. I think everybody has the same size of brain, and everybody could do as well if they apply themselves. But just some of us are lazier than others. So if you say, hey, you got to maintain a B average, I don't think it should be a problem. I think we as teachers, as coaches, as citizens could put a little bit more effort into the kid. And we just going to tell them that they can't do that because they can do anything. If they put the mind in, if they have the time to do it, they do it.
And the motivation is there, the motivation is there because they want to play the sport. So I'm saying with maybe the teacher, the principal, the psychologist, the parent, it takes a village. When these people discuss that particular child, they can say, all right, this child, their potential is a B, right? Might be a B, but then make sure they get the B. They're not getting D's and C's, right? So you got to sit with the child and really understand this child. What is this child maybe going to be a great mechanic? Are they going to be something good with their hands? So not necessarily you always have to be doctors and lawyers, but what can you do to contribute to society? And that's what's important. You know, because there's all these kids now have dreams of being the best in the world and making, you know, I call it ridiculous money. They want to get 200,000 and 300,000 pounds a week. Not many of them going to do that. But what are you doing for society? I've heard about some of the players who have gone on to be doctors, and I love to hear these things. Really, really working hard. Really put their, as you say, really put the sacrifice in, because, as you know, Steve, when you go to university, the elected director will come and tell the coach that X player cannot play in the games because they have to bring their grades up, and they don't make joke with that. Right. So why can't we start in Trinidad and Tobago and in the Caribbean, start getting our kids prepared from now? Not till they reach university and realize that, oh, I really have to do my academics now. Or I'm gifted, you know, but I'm not really going to take my school seriously. You're going to eventually get into trouble.
I think a lot of our problem here is discipline. I think, you know, the desire and the discipline. We have the desire to do it. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lose weight in January, but when time to put in the work to lose it, we don't. So we just lack the discipline. And I think the Germany, the US, the England, those football teams, I'm bringing it back to football, those football teams are disciplined teams because they work hard, they understand, hey, this is, your life depends on it, or the country depends on it, or whatever, and they put in the work. We now, as the German still attitude, like the Brazilians, I always say the Brazilians really had the mental strength as England and Germany. Nobody else is going to win the World Cup because they've got the skill to do it. But it's just that they're lackadaisical and they party like how we are, and we adopt the same attitude, I guess. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, at the highest level for Brazil, they still want to win the World Cup, and they will do, because of the science in the game, they will do what they need to do.
Right.
They will do what as I said before, there's a place in the game for everybody. And Carlos Alberto Pereira, one of the last World Cups he wanted to make sure that the Brazil team was, we're very good at scoring goals, but now we have to defend. So he made the team very, very organized, took off some of the flair. The Brazilian fans didn't like it, but they were very disciplined. And the cream rises to the top. These are teams that have consistently made it to the World Cup. So what are they doing? Yes, Trinidad and Tobago will always have to compete with a Mexico, a Guatemala, Costa Rica, a Canada now, right? A Jamaica. We will always have to fight these different teams. We will always have to fight these teams. But you know what? Richard Chinapu, who I know you know well, will always call me and say, Dion, when we put a team on the field, just make sure the team belongs to me. Let us look like we belong on the same field. Because sometimes when we go and lose these CONCACAF games badly, it looks as though, well, wow, what's really happening with our football? So that's what I'm saying. We go back to talk about the winning. You're winning the secondary schools football. You get the best players in the secondary schools football together, where we get a lot of our players from, along with players now who can represent Trinidad and Tobago because they were born abroad, and we have quite a few of those players now. But when we go and play against top teams in the world, we're not being as successful, which talks about money, which talks about preparation. America and these countries are playing 30 and 40 practice games to play in a CONCACAF tournament. We are playing 2, 3 games, 4 games. So we really have to find the money to give these teams the preparation that they need.
Now, World Cup is around the corner. I know you have a team. And I know the viewers would want to hear who you like.
Well, I gave a little hint just now. I like the Brazilians. Trinidad and Tobago is not in the World Cup. I like the Brazilians, and I have to be honest, because of the flair. I love the Brazilians. I know the Germans are going to be there, but I love the Brazilians. And
if not them, who you have as backup?
Well, there's always going to be a Germany. England is tough because England has lots of top players on paper, but always that chemistry and getting the team together is very, very challenging. If I must say from CONCACAF, I would love to see Mexico go as far as they can. And I think Mexico has been one of those teams in the world that well respected, and they bring a different type of flair to the game, and in terms of how they keep the ball possession, and so a different way of playing the game. And it's really be nice to see a CONCACAF team really go well into this World Cup.
Right. I think the U.S. would go the farthest as a CONCACAF team. I think so. I think Brazil is going to win, not because of nothing. I just think this is the time. They have the players, and I think they have the attitude now to do it. And I think Belgium or Holland is the two other teams to watch. So those are my picks.
Those are very good picks. And Belgium has shown again consistency. So there are teams in the world that we have come to love, and it's very, very challenging. I don't know, with all the thing about Cristiano Ronaldo now and how Portugal and how that's going to affect his World Cup team. Hopefully that is with him having with the coach he's having with the coach now. It doesn't affect his performance in the World Cup. So that'll be interesting to see how does he carry his team and how does that sort of unfold, so to speak.
I would like to see Senegal get to the group stage because I think it's getting close now for an African country to win the World Cup. So I've got to back somebody. And I think because of Manny and a couple of them, I think they're more serious now in getting there. But hey, we see what happens. Are you going to go?
No, I'm not going to go. I'll be here. I'll be here. I'll be going on the television.
You're going to get up at 5 in the morning to watch the game?
Most certainly.
All right. Dion, I want to thank you for being here, but it's always good talking with you, chatting with you, and you always have great ideas. And it's congratulations on extending your mind to do something different. And that always works for you. And I want to say keep it going. And sorry that we don't have you as our technical director, but I know you're going to still add something to our football. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very, as I can fit in anywhere. I don't need a title. I just love to help. I just love to help. To the young people out there, if you follow your dreams, this is what the program is about. Follow your dreams and do as well as you can and really put the work in. As Steve talked about, if we don't have the discipline, it's not going to make it. So follow your dreams. All right. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. NCBN, thanks for the opportunity. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out. We have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. This show's ended. Go in peace. I'm Steve David. Good night.